That Great Business Show. Winner, highly commended award. Irish Podcast Awards.
Welcome to episode 205 of That Great Business Show, where we bring you great business tips, insights and opportunities on every episode. I'm Donal Morris. All of this is brought to you by Facto Shaving Oil, the world's finest, made in Ireland from pure ingredients like clove, sesame and lavender, and its exceptional viscosity means no more nicks. DeFactoShave.com. We had Brian Murphy of Customs Window on episode 204 explaining the many complexities of doing business with post-Brexit Britain. And of course, that being That Great Business Show, where we do solutions, not problems, he had some excellent workarounds as well, especially the Northern Ireland option. If you don't know what I'm talking about, well, listen back to 204. And of course, all the others as well. Like our children, we love them equally. We're staying on the cross-border theme on this episode, as we have found a fascinating little company for you that sells booze across Europe. And wait till you hear some of the hassles of doing that. And the power of the newspaper small ad, that's where we found you a fundraising company.
De Facto, the revolutionary shaving oil, changing the face of shaving. For the smoothest shave of your life, just add water. No more lathering up or cleaning up afterward. Just add a few drops of water and you're ready to go. De Facto's blend of all natural oils hydrates and protects your skin. Perfect for all skin types and lasts so much longer than traditional foams or gels. De Facto, a shaving revolution. Just add water. Available from selected pharmacies and from defactoshave.com.
I read a staggering figure from one of my favourite economists, that's Dan O'Brien, last week, where he pointed out that just 10 companies account for well over half of Ireland's goods exports, and foreign companies account for 87%. Homegrown companies still have a way to go when it comes to cracking international markets, and that's it. Doing business internationally is just not that easy. So think of the booze business, for example. Every country has different taxes, excise duties, regulations and rules, including who and when alcohol can be sold. Tipple is a Tullamore-based business that's trying to disrupt the global alcohol business, hoping to sell direct to consumer, or D2C as they like to say. But of course, as I've just said, it's just not that easy. Owen Barra is top man at Tipple and joins me now in the studio. Owen, welcome to That Great Business Show.
Thanks very much for having me, I guess.
You were, once upon a time, a DJ, a distributor, a distiller, and sorry, you're now a distributor, but you're also a designer. Does everything that you do have to begin with a D?
It doesn't. No, It's just like fortune, and that it's all kind of become good alliteration.
And once upon a time, you were distilling, and from that, because previously you worked with AWS, am I right? So you have married two things: knowledge from Amazon and knowledge of distilling, and you set up a very, very interesting business.
Yeah, it's pretty complex. So what I did was I used to run a small distillery in Tullamore, or as we like to say, we were the second biggest in Tullamore after our friends in Tullamore Dew. And now the size and difference was, marginal, I would say, marginal. But why I was trying to grow a business, right? I was working at Amazon. The gin was my side hustle, right? I had 6 people working in the distillery while I was doing my day job. And I used to come down in the evenings, distill booze, go back up and design stuff during the day for networks and AWS and things like that. So when 2019 came around, I was like, this gin thing is taking off. It's getting become a real problem. It's interfering with my day job. I'm probably going to have to leave now. And
leave which?
Leave Amazon.
Okay.
And leave this really nice 6-figure paycheck, this nice cushy number, and then go and, enter the whole world of, we now need to scale this internationally. So we identified direct to consumer as one of the main pathways. So, you get in front of your customer, everyone else was doing it. You look at the Harry's shaving kits, you look at, all of these things are being sold directly to consumers.
De Facto Shaving Oil.
Oh, de facto.
Direct to consumer.
Now, if you could see me, that I'm a very hirsute man, I may not be the target market for it. But The idea was we did in Ireland, UK, and we did pretty well at it. But we would have people that would come to Ireland on holiday, love the product, and they'd go back to Germany or to Austria and say, hey, I love your product. Can I buy it in Germany? We're like, well, we don't have a German distributor. Well, could I buy it over the internet? And I'm like, it's really complex with the taxes. I don't know if that's going to work.
Does Post even allow you to put anything in a glass bottle? I don't think that they do.
No, not alcohol anyway.
And so therefore, is there a way around that?
So, well, you use a courier company. So essentially we would use the likes of a UPS or a DPD or...
Which probably costs as much as the drink itself.
Well, unless you start to do scale, right? And this is where we came in. So we were doing it ourselves and we're getting a fairly decent rate in Ireland, UK. But when we were starting to look at like Germany, the options were, well, if we want to expand to every country in Europe, we need a warehouse in every single country, which also means that we have to have stock in every one of those countries. And we have to have a carrier in every single one of those countries. And then we need an accountant and we need like all of this, like bam, admin. I was like going...
So much for the open market in Europe.
Yeah, and in fairness, like the VAT one-stop shop has made it a little bit easier, but in excise goods, excise is payable in the country of consumption, right? And every country has a different process. So in Belgium, you have to file your taxes every Tuesday, right? So as in for your alcohol. In Germany, it's the 5th of the month. In France, it's the 15th. There's a whole like different process that has to be followed each way, and there's forms that have to be filled in. So we were kind of like going, there has to be a way to do this across a border. Like, why can't I just be like Amazon and have a warehouse in the middle of somewhere that I can send to any country I need to? And that kind of led to us like a more difficult question. It's like, how do we do cross-border alcohol, direct consumer, but still be compliant? So we went and we took like tax advice, legal advice, all of that. And it took us about 2.5 years to figure that out. But once we figured it out, we went, this is going to cost a lot of money to build. So why are we building it for ourselves? Why don't we build this as an infrastructure? Because surely if we're having this problem, other people are going to have this problem too. So I went back to Amazon. I went to met Jamie. So Laura, who's one of the other co-founders, I'd already convinced to leave her job and come help me build more. And then Jamie was there and he like built tech, like massive scalable tech for Amazon. And I was like, come here, this is this problem. He's like, nah, like surely someone solved this. Like I was like, no, it's a super complex problem. No one solved this. And the more he dug into it, the more he's like, oh, this is actually really, really difficult. Okay, I'm in. So we then raised some money. So we raised about 400 grand from angels. So we got some like really good names that like backed us early on. And we took the minimum amount of money that we could to prove that the idea worked and that we could like legally do this, compliantly do this, and to prove that there was a market. And then, yeah, we just scaled. And it turned out that it was a huge problem for people. Like, that this omni-channel, we had COVID hit, and then, can't do bars and restaurants. People are all drinking at home. How do you get your product in front of them? So through the wonders of advertising.
So how does it work?
It's simple. It's really simple. Plugs in onto a Shopify or WooCommerce store, white label, they never see us, right? So you go onto a website, you go, that's a bottle of whiskey I'd like to buy. Put in your address. You say, okay, country that you're going to is France. The French VAT, the French excise, the French pricing all shows up, and the French delivery cost. This person clicks buy, and what happens in the background is we handle the VAT, the excise, French social charges, any packaging taxes, and then we also pick, pack, and distribute from our warehouse.
And are we talking about any old bottles of booze, or are you just premium, or?
It's mostly premium, like as in you're not going to like buy the stuff that you're able to get down in the corner shop.
That's what I was wondering, because there's also a price issue there as well. I presume it probably costs as much again to ship as to buy.
Exactly, yeah. And this is where the economies of scale coming in, using an infrastructure, is that we then can go to the carriers and negotiate better prices, because you're not just one distillery sending a couple of hundred bottles. We have an army of customers that we're going, okay, we have all of this volume. We need to get the prices lower.
Now, I said you're based in Tullamore, but you've actually got an office in Dublin as well.
Yeah.
But where's the base? Where's your distribution base, for example?
So we have a warehouse in Amsterdam. We have a warehouse in Antwerp. We have a warehouse just outside of Paris. We've one in the UK. We have one in New Jersey, and we're just about to open up one in Melbourne.
One in New Jersey, USA?
Yeah.
That's pretty random. I mean, I thought when you were going to conquer Europe, first of all, why would you spread yourself to either Australia and or USA?
Because I'm trying to take over the world.
Is that the idea?
That's the idea. Like, there's no point in like only doing Europe, because when people come to you, they want an end-to-end solution. I want to be able to sell my product as easy as I'm able to sell anything else. So like going into Australia, you need a GST number, you need a bonded warehouse, you need like all of these things that it's just really, really difficult to find. The idea here is to make it one-click market entry.
When you say going into, so therefore somebody who's got a high-end whiskey in Ireland rings you up and you say, yeah, we can distribute it for you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That's the answer. Simple as.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you make the product available. Then you just have to do the demand generation.
Now, there are distribution methods already there. They're not lying down. They're going to make your life difficult for you.
Well, what we do is we kind of enhance what they currently do. So if you look at a small Irish whiskey, right? Before, what you used to have to do is you go do what's called an A&P budget, and you would give the distributor,
which is
an advertising and promotion budget.
Okay.
So you would give the distributor a certain amount of money per case for them to advertise and promote your product. The problem with that was you never really knew where the money was going, right? You were like going, oh yeah, we did some fashion event, and it was like, well, what was the uplift in sales? I don't know. Nobody knows, right? So this way, what we do is you have direct control of your A&P budget. You put $5,000 into ads. You're now getting your brand awareness. You're also making that money back because people are buying the product, and then you're making your margin, and you're making more margin because you don't have the importer and distributor. So you're making a fatter margin. So you can actually afford to advertise more and help grow the product. Then what happens there is you have a synergistic effect where the distributor on premise, like you may not have bought the thing online, but you go, actually, I've seen an ad for that. I'll try that in a bar, or I'll try that in the store.
Well, that's the sales pitch. But you mentioned two groups of people, distributors and importers, who presumably you're eating their lunch or you're drinking their drink, whichever way you want to put it. They're not happy about that, are they?
This doesn't really affect them because, with importers and distributors, they're very risk adverse. So they only want to pick winners, and they only want to de-risk it for themselves. So if you've got an Irish whiskey that no one's ever heard of and you want to go into Australia, they're probably going to go, well, we're not going to take it. So what actually happens is when that company scales to a point and then they've got the data to say, actually, I sold 10,000 bottles last month. And then they go to that distributor. It de-risks it for the distributor because they go, well, they've already got market demand. They're getting pulled through. This is win-win.
You're not based, so you're based in Ireland, but are you distributing in Ireland?
No.
Why?
So the licensing laws here are pretty archaic. So we need to have a pub license. And a pub license is about 50 to 70 grand.
Seriously?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was expecting to hear more of those kinds of things that in, Lower Saxony in Germany, that they have some weird laws there as well, but no?
No, so Helen McAtee in 2022 decided that she was going to reform the licensing laws. And it's a fantastic idea. So usually, like how the pubs work now is there's a certain amount of pubs on the island. And in order to open up a new pub, you have to extinguish an old license. You have to buy one from one premises, extinguish it, and attach it to a new premises. Which basically, it kind of creates this monopoly-like effect, right? And it just means that you can't have, bars at events. You can't have bars like where you'd kind of expect it to be. So when that reform comes in, there'll be a period of 3 years where that kind of eases out.
When it does? When is that?
I don't know. It was meant to come in 2022 and it was meant to be a 3-year period, but there's a lot of things that are being worked on, I guess.
And so you are in the UK. So UK works fine?
Yeah, UK works fine.
So I'm in the UK. I'm sitting in London. I want a high-end whiskey. What's the normal thing how many bottles are people buying and what are they doing? Or what's driving people to you that they wouldn't go down to whatever their equivalent of O'Brien's is in over there?
So I think there's a couple of things. One is, there's the choice, right? So you don't have to have the product that's in the country, right? So you can buy a whiskey that's from Tasmania that's available in Europe. And you go, well, this liquor store doesn't stock it because, it's 350 quid a bottle. If you're a collector or you want rare and exclusive things, they may not be stocked in a local retail store. So the best place to get it is directly from the manufacturer.
And that's what you do.
Exactly.
And do you chase those manufacturers yourself, or do they chase you, or who's got the upper hand at the moment?
It's a bit of both. I think it's such a new industry as well. So you look at alcohol brands aren't really aware that this is possible. So there's an education piece.
And how are you doing that?
Well, through education. So we put up
through
content.
Podcasts.
Well, through podcasts. Yeah, exactly. So we're kind of making people aware of it and then the benefits of it and then kind of showing, this is what other companies are doing. Now, we don't like to talk about our companies because we don't want to leak data because it's all very commercially sensitive. Someone's doing 10,000 bottles. You don't want your competitors to find out. So we don't generally talk about the people that we work with. But we kind of give generalized statements on. So we did a report last year on the rise of whiskey So in France, particularly. So Scotch has left this massive hole since Brexit. So the French are more open to trying Irish whiskey.
Why did Brexit affect that?
Well, this is all like the unintended consequences. So
we've been talking about them a bit here forever, yeah.
So the HMRC introduced, it's basically like a travel insurance, right? So when a product leaves your warehouse and goes to another warehouse, right, it's called under bond. So basically the duties and taxes are suspended. Everywhere else in Europe, how it works is the liability sits on the person sending the stock. In the UK, they added this thing where the liability sits on the truck company, right? And a lot of truck companies just don't want that, right?
Because people used to hijack those kinds of lorries. Are they still hijacking them, or
no? This has very rarely happened, and I think the
more piracy. No,
the last case of that. There's a very dubious government involvement in the last hijacking that I'll not go into on this podcast.
When you say a government involvement, which government?
The British government. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to spend the evening now.
There's a really interesting guy called Alan Powell, who is a tax consultant in the UK, who kind of talks about all of the history of the HMRC and like all the decisions that they've made. It's really, really interesting.
As you know, I have this thing called Hire in a Heartbeat. I'm going to see whether I can hire Alan Powell in a heartbeat and get him on. So back to this thing. So we'll continue with the UK model. Is your target customer, is he filthy rich or a nutty collector, and is he buying 3 bottles or 30 bottles or? I presume it's not just a he, it's a he and or she.
Yeah, so like it's all walks of life, and you'd be surprised at the stuff that sells, like from wine, spirits, like.
So you are selling wines as well?
Yeah, wine, spirits, beer.
But you're not making money out of beer.
Well, do you know what? We've managed, so with the economies of scale that we've managed to get to, we've managed to make beer make sense. So, which is a surprise for everybody.
So any brewer in Ireland who wants to distribute across Europe, should talk to you.
Yeah.
Maybe they already are they?
I don't know. So we've spoken to 1 or 2, and it's funny because like a couple of months ago, we didn't do this. And then we got a very large customer who came on and said, hey, we do X amount of packages. It's all beer. And then we actually use that volume to negotiate with our warehouse and with our carriers and basically managed to make it work for beer off of that one customer. And now we've been able to offer it out to multiple customers.
And if you are stocking beer, just in terms of volume versus value, your warehouse must be vast, is it?
So we have 60,000 square meters.
Is that big?
Yeah.
I never know what.
What's that in old money?
So times 10 if you want to get into square feet. So 600,000 square feet.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah. So we use about 2,500 square meters so for our pick and pack currently, and then we're expanding into another 2,500 square meters, so another 5,000 square meters.
And all of this costs money, so where are you on the funding now? So
we took in a seed round in March, yeah.
Of?
€4 million.
Oh, really? Okay. Who gave you 4 million quid?
Some very, very nice people, to be fair. So we did Quadri Ventures, so our family office out of Monaco. Form Ventures, who do a regulated business, they're out of the UK. Broadstone, who is Eamon and Fiona from Dublin. So they organised the syndicate and put together a whole load of really interesting individuals who come in because we weren't actually opening it up to angels. So they managed to put them into one vehicle, bring them all in. And then Back Future, who are the guys behind SaaStock.
Okay. It's a nice eclectic bunch. Now, there's a pitch obviously involved when you're trying to convince people to back you. What did you tell them about? One is an exit, but secondly, what kind of a return can they expect?
Well, you never guarantee a return.
Obviously, you don't. But you obviously you had to kind of hang some little carrot in front of them. This could go to.
Well, you look at it, the industry is worth 1.3 trillion a year.
And you is huge. That is vast.
It's
that's massive.
Yeah. And you look at it, so the alcohol producers only make 40%, right, of that. 60% goes through middlemen and through all the supply chain.
And that's your part of the lunch.
That's the part that we're targeting, right? So but it's also to make the distributors and that better. Because as a brand, I don't know where the data is. So when I was selling gin, I didn't know which pubs sold my product. I didn't know how quickly they ran through it. All I saw was pallets going out. And then I'd get a report at the end of the month saying that this bar has taken 5 cases. I didn't know if they took it all on a Saturday evening or if they took it at the end of the month or if we were on a menu. So the idea is to pull it all together, like as in to make the alcohol industry, bring it to, the 21st century.
And you're doing that at the moment?
Exactly.
With your team of how many?
So 10.
And growing?
Yeah, so we're probably going to be at 25 people.
Well, that's getting, chunky.
Yeah.
And why aren't you not sitting out in Amsterdam or in New Jersey or somewhere?
Well, why would I be? I'm not going to put the things in the boxes.
And is that is it? I mean, you've got teams in those places.
Yeah.
And why did you choose New Jersey over anywhere else?
Well, one, you've got a 10-day shipping from Cork. So you've got a deep water port. You've got basically getting direct line into Europe. So as in, we could have picked LA and it would have taken 66 days in the sea, and nobody wants that. Or Galveston, Texas, and you're looking at 40 days. But you're looking at the speed of replenishment for in and out.
And if I had asked you 2 or 3 years ago about the time to get to various ports in America, and you would have kind of looked at me blankly and said, I don't know. Yeah. Isn't it funny what business teaches you?
It's wild. Like, as in, I know so many things about so many things now, like cardboard, for example, like the different grades of cardboard.
Tony Smurfett we had on episode 14 or something. He would talk to you for the rest of your life about cardboard and how much he loves it. He's worth listening to.
Yeah, well, in fairness, we're one of his customers, so
good. And they are now growing again. So back to your own business. Where does it all end? I mean, I did say IPO or
that's the plan. So the plan would be
or a takeout. You could be bought out.
Not really, right? So as
Amazon would probably love to buy your business.
Yeah. They've got huge problems when sending booze cross border. So you got Amazon.de. I don't know if you ever gone to Amazon.ie and you'd pick the product.
.de everything because we've got around it, but .ie is coming very, very soon.
Yeah. So there's products that you can't buy because, it's been listed from the UK marketplace, been shown to you, but no one can handle the excise and the VAT in the country of destination. And that's what we do.
But surely you haven't got a God-given rights on that knowledge. Somebody else could replicate it?
Yeah, they could. And in fairness, you could say the same thing about Tony Smurfett's business,
Which is true. Absolutely.
But it takes...
say tires. Tires, yeah, they look like all the same, yeah.
It's a funny one because when we're raising money, the VCs would ask, well, why wouldn't Diageo do this? And you're going, well, when we spoke to Diageo, they've got specialists in tax, they're specialists in VAT, specialists in excise, but they're very, very narrow and vertical. And because I was chief bottle washer at the distillery and did everything, you kind of get this broad sense. You're going to go, this is a holistic view of how to pull this all together. And it's very rare that people from tax and logistics meet. So yeah, I say...
That's an interesting meeting, all right, isn't it? Tax and logistics. I'd say that'd be fun conversation.
Well, tax, logistics and tech, how often do you get programmers doing stuff with logistics? It's very rare.
True.
And if you look at the likes of Flexport, where have thrown modernization on the logistics industry. So to go back to that and say where does it all end? As in the idea is IPO, as in I'm trying to build the infrastructure for the alcohol industry. I'm trying to make sure that it's as easy to sell alcohol as it is to sell anything else.
And IPOing at the moment is a hot topic because Euronext is a disaster. AIM in UK is a disaster. Where would you IPO?
Ideally the NASDAQ. We'll get to ring that bell.
That'd be sweet, wouldn't it?
No.
Is that your dream?
No, that's definitely not my dream. As in, I think my dreams are a lot more interesting. Generally, me fighting a bear or something along those lines. Maybe they're nightmares. I'm not quite sure. But I think it's more the goal. The goal is to IPO on the NASDAQ.
That'd be sweet. And when will you do that?
I don't know.
Have you given them a call?
No, I haven't pre-warned them that I'm on the way or anything. But no, there's plenty of other steps between now and then.
And a vast amount more money presumably to raise because you need warehouses everywhere if you're going to do this worldwide.
Well, the company's really capital efficient, right? So essentially, because of the way we've built the infrastructure, we're a fintech company. So we sit on top of physical infrastructure, right? We don't own warehouses. We don't operate forklifts. Nothing along those lines. Everything is all software.
You said that as if you regretted that you couldn't go around with your little...
Man, I used to drive a forklift every now and again. It was a lot of fun. Now, in fairness, there was that one incident that we won't talk about.
The last question that we ask everybody, as you know, because I have checked with you, is who would you, Owen Barra, hire in a heartbeat?
There's and when you asked me this, I was going, there's 3 people that I can narrow.
And you're allowed to have 3.
So one is Ryan Reynolds, right?
Okay.
Ryan Reynolds ran a gin business, also a very funny man. So I think he'd be great crack. Two would be...
Have you spoken with him about it?
No.
No, not yet.
Have you got his number?
No, but I'm sure doesn't he own Wrexham or something like that? And
He does.
pitch up there and throw a bottle at him or something.
Yeah. And then there is the Aidan Corbett from Wayflower.
Okay, yeah.
Very, very impressive, like the scale that they've managed to do.
And did they look at you to fund you by any chance?
No, we went straight for the VC route. So their whole model is based on like sales and things like that. And
yeah.
We're a merchant of record business, which is kind of slightly different. And then there's a guy called Jordan Major from AU Vodka. So Jordan basically, AU Vodka is like the poster child of direct consumer alcohol. The
capital A, capital U.
Yeah, so it's gold. It's a gold bottle, like really, really impressive sort of bottle.
Costing?
I'm going to say around 40 euros.
Okay, so not about 4 million or anything like
no,
that.
No. And it's not real gold, I'll tell you that. I checked. But what the lads did was I'm going to say 2019, 2018, they were doing about £500,000 a year. And now in 2024, they're now doing 58 million a year.
Okay.
Right? And in terms of any sort of business, that's incredibly impressive. But in the alcohol business, it's insane, right? And how they grew was all through social media, was through direct to consumer, was like getting product in people's hands, building hype, building like brand recognition, and then like entering new countries. And the guys are like killing it at the minute in the US and in Europe. So yeah, very, very
What would he
impressive.
do for you?
Well, he was the guy that like came up with the strategies and all of those sort of things. But the idea would be take his skills and transfer it to the brands that work
So he's
with
not
us.
a distiller. He's a social,
he's like a
digital marketing
exactly,
guru, as they like to call themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Owen, next time you come into us, do you reckon you'll have doubled the business, trebled the business?
It's hard to know. Like, as in, like, it's one of these things that we do a lot of things. We move really, really fast. So yeah, easily doubled. That shouldn't be a problem.
You work really fast. You work really hard. How many hours a day do you do?
So I finish up at 4:30 most days, right?
In the afternoon.
In the afternoon. And
as I was reading yesterday, I won't even name it, but it was in a Sunday newspaper about some idiot who claimed that he was working 16 hours a day. And I was looking at him saying, if you just go into the bathroom and eat a meal, you have no time for anything.
Well, the other thing
that doesn't exist.
Like, time in the chair doesn't equal productivity, right? And I like to take a break, like from 4:30 till about like 6 or 7. And then like kind of do a few bits in the evening because we have the Australia and the US things. So there's a couple of time zones that I kind of overlap into, do a few bits into the evening, get back and start it the next day.
So anybody who wants to find you will find you at Tipple, Tipple, Tipple Tullamore, Tipple Dublin, Tipple whatever.
So go HEY. So heytipple.com is where you'll find us. You'll find me on Twitter at Owen Barra, and Owen with an E.
And it's Barra without an R, or at least with one R.
With one R, yeah.
B-A-R-A.
Yeah.
There's a backstory to that as well, but we won't go into that. Owen Barra without the R. Thank you so much for joining us on That Great Business Show.
That Great Business Show.
De Facto, the revolutionary shaving oil, changing the face of shaving. For the smoothest shave of your life, just add water. No more lathering up or cleaning up afterward. Just add a few drops of water and you're ready to go. De Facto's blend of all natural oils hydrates and protects your skin. Perfect for all skin types and lasts so much longer than traditional foams or gels. De Facto, a shaving revolution. Just add water. Available from selected pharmacies and from defactoshave.com.
That Great Business Show. Winner, highly commended award. Irish Podcast Awards.
I was reading the small ads in the back of the Business Post newspaper over the weekend, one of my guilty pleasures, when I saw an ad from medtech company RedZinc that we've had on the show before, and the ad is for a fundraising. And proving that advertising works, I got on to the founder, Donal Morris, to see what he's raising the cash for. RedZinc is a technology company that specializes in developing mobile video communications and wearable technology solutions, and the company focuses on providing real-time video streaming and telemedicine services primarily aimed at healthcare or emergency responses, as well as some industrial applications. And Donal Morris, you are very welcome back to That Great Business Show.
Oh, thanks very much. Lovely to see you again. Delighted to be back here to say hello and tell you what we're up to.
And what the money is for. But we'll get onto that in a second, because the last time you were in here with Professor Martin Curley, and we were talking about a really, really interesting future development back then from the HSE called Hospital at Home or Home Hospital or something like that?
That's right. So we have, since the start of the pandemic, we have our product in the HSE Blue Eye for outpatient clinics. But what we saw was the real challenge in healthcare services in Ireland and across Europe is really congestion. So one of the initiatives is to make hospital at home services. And the idea is to enable patients to be discharged early and to be remotely monitored with biometric sensors. So sensors that they can wear on their chest or their wrist. And these sensors measure the heart rate, the ECG, the skin temperature, the respiration rate, the oxygen saturation. And all of these are the observations that a nurse would make on the ward. So the idea is that you can have a patient maybe who's stabilized in hospital on day 6 or day 7. Then they could be maybe let home early, if they want to be let home early, and remotely monitored in the final part of their stay. And of course, that would release up bed nights or bed days in the hospital. And that's a really powerful thing because lots of hospitals are congested.
And that is what you were talking about. Is it 2, maybe 3 years ago when Martin Curley was in with you? Where is it now?
So it was a concept at that time, and we knew the problem. And since then, the product has been developed, and it's in operation now in 2 different hospitals, and we're really excited for it.
Which 2, or can you tell me, or is it?
We can't say. They haven't been publicised yet. But
and is it covering 10 people, or 100 people, or 1,000 people?
At the start, it's aimed to cover tens of people, but ultimately there's 2.2 million acute beds in Europe, in acute hospitals in Europe. And the NHS they're saying that for every 100,000 population, you should have about 30, 40, 50 virtual beds or hospital at home beds. So if you extrapolate that across Europe, including EU27, and then the countries that are outside the UK and Switzerland and Norway, you get 184,000 virtual beds, and they'll come on stream over the next 5-6 years.
And will RedZinc do all of those?
Oh, well, we won't do them all, but we do a good lot of them. That's the plan, yeah.
Are you ahead of the curve, or where are you? Are there competitors? There must be.
There's competitors in the marketplace, but it's very fragmented. It's still very, very early stages. And we've got a really strong technology platform. You
are an engineer by trade.
I'm a telecoms engineer. Yeah, I studied in engineering in Dublin City University back when it was NIHE Dublin. Back in, I think it was the third group back in 1982. We arrived.
Did they have telecoms back then?
They did. Yeah, I was working with one of the professors there. He was a telecoms expert. Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So back to RedZinc. RedZinc is going to take on the world. Is going to have. Did you tell me 185,000 patients that you're going to cover?
184,000 is the opportunity across Europe. So for all the population of Europe, 400 or 500 million, there'll be about 180,000 virtual beds. And that's to me, that's a conservative estimate, because when we go and talk to hospital management, they're saying, well, could we get it up to 30%? Because they're looking at their capacity now. Maybe they have a ward of 20 beds and they're saying, well, could we get 30% capacity increase? So if you look at that, that's really 700,000 beds across Europe if it goes like that.
But is that the hospital management, not the medics, who are saying that? Now I'll explain what I'm thinking. Medics don't like letting things away from their direct control. And hospital managers, I'm sure, would be delighted to see patients going out the door. So there would be a contradiction in thinking there.
Not really, no. I mean, the medics are saying to us, can we get 30% extra capacity?
Okay.
The management are saying, can they double it? So yeah, it's a...
And how quickly will you scale? You're only at tens, you say, at the moment. How long does whatever testing you're doing take? Well,
it's change management within a hospital. So they have, hospitals they're running similar processes that they've been running for a long time. It's a conservative industry. You're
talking about pre-industrial revolution, basically, aren't you?
Well, I was at one conference in London and they said hospitals are Jurassic. So, it's a process that's been used for a long time. There's a trajectory towards what's called integrated care. So you have all these separate silos. So you've got your acute hospitals, you've got your community services, you've got your primary care, your GPs, then you have your ambulance services. Then there's new self-care coming with all the applications, and I'm sure Martin has talked to you about that, Professor Curley's talked to you about that. And then there's obviously video doctors arriving, but they're all in separate, what we engineers call silos. They're kind of disconnected. And the idea of what's called integrated care is to make it a more holistic process. So instead of being bounced from hospital to the GP to the community, that it's a more streamlined and flow-based process, so that it's easier for the patient and more integrated. And that's where healthcare is going. But it's a 10-year journey to get integrated care. Now they have that in Ireland already, but it's just developing.
But it's 10 years. I thought we said that 2 or 3 years ago. I should have looked up to see exactly when we did have you on last time, but it's a while ago anyway. And I know that you were going to be, because I remember Martin talking about 10x. Everything was 10x. It was going to be 10 times bigger, faster, and greater. There was pushback from the HSE. So it's not everybody loves you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a slow process. It's change management within healthcare services, because they're doing things the way they've done them that they know works at a certain level, and they're looking to improve that. So the whole industry is moving towards that. It's like we were invited by the German government to get set up in the eastern part of Germany in Leipzig.
When you say we, RedZinc.
Yeah, our company. So we won a competition in Eastern Europe to get set up in Eastern Germany, really. So Germany is the eastern part when after the fall of the wall and whatever.
Which is 89. That's a few years ago.
That's a few years ago. But they're investing in Leipzig in healthcare. And we're one of a number of companies that won a competition to get into Leipzig and use that as a hub to service the German, the Austrian and the Swiss market. So we won that in April time, and we've set up our business there. We did a roadshow there. We visited over 4 days. We visited 4 different hospitals, several different units in 3 different cities in Eastern Germany and in Göttingen, Leipzig and Berlin. And we got loads of interest in the way we're approaching this. And they have the issue as well. They have that silo issue where the acute hospital is different from the community. And they have this, I won't say Chinese wall, but there's kind of a barrier. And so when you're in an acute hospital, you're under the governance of a doctor in an acute hospital. And then when you go into the primary care, well, then you're under the governance of the GP, and the community then is different again. So all these things make for friction in terms of the way the patient is treated. And
inter-doctor friction as well, because you're moving in on various people's patches, no?
No, I mean, I think that people want to get the best for the patient. It's just they have processes that the way they've been doing things for several years, and it's the case now. But the integrated care is coming. I mean, that's where investment is coming, and the HSE has integrated care doctors where the doctor would be half in the community services and half in the acute hospital, and that has happened in Ireland. It's not fully stood up yet, but that's where it's going.
And you mentioned investment, and it's a perfect segue into the little ad in the Business Post. And I have to give a shout out to the Business Post, because I find the ads fascinating. They tell stories, and here I am, and then I said, I know that RedZinc, yeah. I better get on to Donal. So that's why I phoned you. And why did you use the Business Post small ad to raise your funds, or trying to raise funds?
So we spend a lot of time talking to doctors and to healthcare professionals and nurses and management teams in there. So we don't have a lot of time to talk to investors. So we're kind of bandwidth limited. All our energy goes into talking to...
Come on, you put it up onto a video or something and you can bang it around and you can tell the story.
So what we're doing is we're talking to investors now to raise more funding.
How much?
We're looking to raise 20 million funding over the next 18 months.
I'm glad I'm sitting down. You said 20 million.
That's right, yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Sure. Healthcare is a huge challenge. You can't do it on a small amount of funding.
And who's going to give you 20 million?
Well, we're talking to lots of investors across Europe, and...
You have raised money before as well.
Yeah, so we've raised about 4.8 million already. And that's what's going on.
Don't tell me you've used it all up already.
Oh, we have, yeah. We developed our product with all of that, yeah.
That was your Lamborghini outside, was it?
No, I came on the Lewis to get here.
So 20 million quid, where does a person go to get 20 million euro?
Well, there's investors. At the moment we're talking to private investors. So we're making it available for private investors. We raised money with Spark before, which is a crowdfunding approach. And we're doing something similar to that. We're just talking to private investors, and that's what we're aiming to reach through the ad we put in the Business Post. And the employment investment scheme is coming online. That comes along for every autumn time. So we're open to investors who want to invest either that or through a different mechanism to invest in the company. And at the same time, we have a discussion going with institutional investors in Europe where we'll be raising 20 million. And we're looking to enable Irish investors to get in early and to get an attractive uplift.
Get in while stocks last.
Exactly.
And what are you can't promise them anything, of course, but what are you enticing them with, the Irish investors?
Oh, so for Irish investors, we're looking to double their money every year.
That's all right.
Oh, yeah, that's a good strategy.
But if you are going to double money for every year, and if you can deliver, which is obviously the difficult bit, you'll have no problem getting big wedges of cash.
That's right, yeah. So
20 million might be peanuts relative to what you need. How do you know you just need 20 million?
Well, that's what we need to get to our next level.
Which is?
So basically, we're looking to get, I told you there's going to be 184,000 virtual beds in Europe. Our target now, the first target is to get to 4,000 virtual beds.
In Ireland?
Across Europe.
Okay. And how many of those will be in Ireland?
I don't know. If we can get several hundred in Ireland, that'd be a nice
You're
nice
being very
achievement.
coy about this. There's something going on here. And when will you know whether you've got a few hundred in Ireland?
Hopefully by the end of the year, maybe.
Okay, well, that's soon. We're now in August as we record. So, yeah. So if I have you back in January, you'll have a few hundred people. What will they have? Have you developed something particularly brilliant, or is it just a neat way of monitoring them, or what are you doing?
Well, what we've done is we've integrated everything together. So there's lots of different moving parts. So there's the process that's needed for the patient. So we have a service co-creation process. So we co-create with the doctors and with the clinical team how to build a new hospital at home virtual ward service. And then what we have is we've partnered with the US company who has wearables. So they're a hardware company and they make sensors that go on your chest. They can go on your wrist, and they're patches. And those patches.
That's not Dexcom, are you? You're not dealing with Dexcom?
No, but we might do. We might partner with them too.
Very nice Irish lad who's very serious, a senior there, called Barry Regan.
All right.
We'll effect an introduction there.
Thanks so much. That'd be really nice, yeah.
Okay, you can send on my check. That's fine. No problem at all. Okay. So what you're saying to me is that the technology has basically integrated. I'm not walking around with wires hanging out of me everywhere.
No, you won't have wires. No, there'll be a little patch or a little wristwatch or a blood pressure cuff that goes on the arm. And all of those jump over Bluetooth onto a smartphone. And then they go from there over 4G or 5G into our cloud system. And we have a cloud system set up to catch all that data. And then a nurse or a doctor or somebody in the multidisciplinary team, whether it's a physiotherapist or an occupational therapist, can log in and see all that patient data. They can talk with the patient by video, and the patient can be in the comfort and safety of their own home. And that's the idea of a home hospital. And then that gets complemented with nurse visits. So community nurses who would be out on the road visiting patients, that then complements them. So instead of a nurse having to go and maybe make an observation on a patient at home, check their values, all those values can come in real time back to the hospital.
I suppose an obvious question: why is this not just being used immediately now?
Well, it's available to be used now, and it's.
But I want it, and I want it now. I also saw on the vast briefing notes that you sent me. Did I see 6G being mentioned?
Yeah, so we're involved in 6G. So we raise lots of funding through 5G to build our product.
And I'm looking out at Vodafone ads and all telling me about 5G, but nobody, and I do know about 6G, but nobody's advertising 6G yet.
No, it's not built yet. So, but it's in research and development. So when 5G was being developed about 8 years ago, the European Commission invested 350 million in that, and we got about 3 million of that to develop our product. But when
you say we, RedZinc,
our company, yeah. And we raised lots more funding for other organizations. For example, we raised 15 million for a big project called 5G Heart with Philips and Telenor and other companies. And the whole idea is that 6G is coming along. The European Commission are investing in 6G because Europe, they want to keep Europe ahead. All of the Gs, the 1Gs and 2Gs and 3Gs, they all came out of Europe. They're European innovations. And they're run from...
They're all dead now.
I think 3G is gone. 2G is gone a long time.
Yeah,
3G is
gone. Being shut down now.
3G has been shut down. 4G and 5G is there. And
when will we see 6?
6G will be there in about 4 years.
Okay. And what difference will that make? Another 10 times or another 100 times? Or
it'll be faster speeds and lower latency, and it'll have extra services on top of it. So what we're looking to do is we've just won a small project. We've won 2 projects actually in the 6G area. So one is where we're looking to use augmented reality for training. This for nurse training and paramedic training. And then the other one is where we're looking to use 5.5G. So 5G evolving to 6G. It's a project called Imagine. We've just won a small project inside that group to work with the ambulance service in Portugal, and also with the telecoms company in Portugal, that's Altus, to get our sensors. Our sensors are initially designed around home hospital, but ambulance services also are interested in home hospital too, because they want to be able to catch the patient before they come into the hospital. So about 10-15% of patients who arrive in an ambulance don't necessarily need to go into the hospital. So they could be referred to a home hospital and then to be monitored at home and either sent to the GP or to the sent in for scheduled appointment in the hospital. So that's really to relieve congestion in emergency departments.
But home hospital, kind of, you imagine crisp white linen and somebody looking like a nurse sitting by the bed and all. That's not how it works. If you're living on your Sweeney in an apartment, is that a home hospital just because I've got a few monitors on me?
Yeah, so it depends on which way you look at it. There's different types of home hospitals. So you can have, it's fully virtual where you're discharged early and you're monitored at home for 2 or 3 nights to make sure that you're stable. Say for example, we're working with one hospital in Germany where they're looking at hip surgeries and knee surgeries. So they're in the hospital, patients in hospital, they've had the surgery, but they're kept in the hospital for a few days to monitor them to make sure something wrong doesn't happen, they don't get an infection or whatever. But you can do that at home too. So the idea is to monitor the patient at home, send them home, keep them in the hospital for 1 day, but then send them home earlier than they would normally go and monitor them remotely. And then you can, really what you're looking for is infection, increases in temperature, changes in observations, and that can be done remotely. Then of course you can check in with the patient by video as well through video technology that we have in Blue Eye, and you can be at home and you can have your own.
You're going to get pushback on this. The Irish Times headlines will be, government seeks to save money and send you home early, and then RedZinc or Blue Eye or whatever wants to monitor you at home, and it's all Big Brother and all. I can hear it, see it in my mind's eye.
Well, I mean, it's not Big Brother at all. It's really, because our system is designed for state of sovereignty. So we don't use any of the hyperscalers where the American servers are involved. We always keep the data local in your own country, always under the governance of the hospital. So the hospital is the only person who can access the data. There's no Big Brother involved at all. And of course, it's really for the patient, because when you're in hospital, you can catch things like very elderly patients can get delirium. When the whole COVID thing was on, that there was risk of infections. So when you go into a hospital, sometimes something else happens. And the idea is that if you're at home, then you're less at risk of acquiring something that you might acquire in a hospital. Plus, a hospital is stressful. I mean, how many patients want to be in the hospital? So if you give patients an opportunity...
None.
There you go. So I went into a hospital in Germany and I said to that, like, how many of your 500 patients want to be here? And of course, the answer is none. And at the conference I was at in London in April, the LSX conference, one of the people said from the pharmaceutical industry said, well, hospitals are Jurassic. So if that's the way hospitals are viewed, and they're processes that have been there for a long time, and now all this digital technology for digital transformation and stay left and shift left and keep people out of hospital, all of that's there now. And really it's a case of change management in the hospitals to introduce new patient pathways which are possible with this technology. And it's not for everybody, but it's certainly for potential for 10-15%. And if you look at the nurses every day in the HSE, they do a trolley count. So they count how many patients are sitting on chairs or sitting on trolleys, and it can be several hundred. And like that's several hundred people who aren't adequately treated. And it's not just in Ireland.
Definitely do not want to be in hospital.
No. So there's the opportunity, and it's really a case of change management in the Irish health service and in health services across Europe. It's not just Ireland.
I'm going to ask you 2 last questions. I forgot to ask you the first one, which was, did you get any response to your small ad in the Business Post?
Oh yes, we got lots of response. Yeah.
Isn't that brilliant?
That's fantastic, yeah.
Well, the fact that I saw it, I said, okay, well, that's one person anyway, but you got more people as well, yeah?
Oh yeah, the ad we're running the ad through July and August.
Oh, I only saw it this week, so
we've had it in for a few weeks, and because the holiday, the holiday weekend, we didn't have many. But before that, through July, we got lots of people interested. So yeah, it's going very well.
Okay, and when does, you better give a shout out to the funding. When do you close your books, or when do you close your funding round?
We'll close this round in the end of September.
Okay, so buy now while stocks last. Final question that you do know, because I did check with you, that we ask everybody is, who would Donal Morris hire in a heartbeat?
Actually, this is two people now.
You're allowed to have, you can have 20 if you want.
Okay, so this is a bit radical. So I'm not just looking at it from my company. I'm looking at it from a systems point of view. So if you look at the healthcare systems in Ireland or in other countries, they're in kind of a very, they're in a process that's been designed a long time ago. So I'd like to hire two people. One is Leo Varadkar, because he's a doctor, and the other is Michael O'Leary, because he was able to change the airline industry. Now, he's not a pilot. Michael O'Leary is not a pilot, and he's not a doctor either. But he put processes in place that turned around the airline industry in Europe. And I think that a guy like O'Leary and a guy like Varadkar together could change the healthcare dynamics in Europe if they got together and rolled up their sleeves.
Well, Michael O'Leary has a little job of work to do, because he has to get his share price up so he can collect his 100 million quid that he needs so badly. But Leo Varadkar, he's available. He's not going for election again, is he?
That's right, and he's a doctor too.
Yeah, and he would be a good guy to hire. Okay. Well, we'll give them both a buzz and see whether we can land them for you. Is that okay?
That'd be fantastic, yeah. And I hope you come to when their induction week.
And if anybody wants to give you cash, where will they find you?
So they can contact me on investor@redzinc.net. If you come onto our website.
.net? I saw that. Well, is that just from history or something?
Oh, we're telecoms guys, so .net, .network. So yeah, so when we started the company, RedZinc is a 20-year-old company. We were doing research and development for a long time. We're a consultancy research and development company in networks. So we just said, okay, .net.
Do I remember correctly? Have you got patents? Do you own patents?
We've filed for one patent in the area of AI and video.
And is that you now, or is that the company?
That's the company, yeah. So it's in the process. We haven't got it yet, but we filed it anyway.
That's okay. Well, that's more than I've done. So that's something. Donal Morris, thank you so much for joining us on That Great Business Show. And it is redzinc.net. We'll find them, because he belongs to some different century or something. Donal, thanks so much.
Thanks a lot. Lovely to be here. Thank you.
It's all go like Chrissy Gno on thatgreatbusinessshow.com. That Great Business Show.
And that is it for episode 205 of That Great Business Show. Great business insights and inspiration as always. And all of this is brought to you by Facto Shaving Oil, the world's finest, made from pure ingredients like clove, sesame and lavender. Its exceptional viscosity means no more nicks. So, no more toilet paper on your face, and that is a win. defactoshave.com. Sign up for your own personal copy of the podcast at thatgreatbusinessshow.com. Share us, like us, and give us 5-star reviews. It all helps. And of course, like you, we're in business, so you can advertise with us. If there are topics you want us to cover, contact us anytime on LinkedIn, where we have an ever-growing community. And as always, the team here at the Dublin South Podcast Studios are a delight to work with, including today's Doctors of Sound, Lee Brennan and Luke Delaney, and later Ace Woofer, studio manager Peter Rice, and post-production engineer Neil Horner go full AI, making us the world's best-selling business podcast, and we like that. So, from me, Donal Morris, buchas to you all, agus slán tamil.